every other week we're having a conversation about whether or not women can actually exist as biological women. I mean, this is something that, I mean, I'm so over this. I'm so over the fact that it keeps being a thing. Why is this a thing? But the newest one, do you remember when J.K. Rowling, everyone was really mad at her for saying like, hey, biological sex exists? Well, now they're really mad at the woman who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, which is just a whole other beautiful element to this, because the left love to point to The Handmaid's Tale and say, look, the conservatives are making us into baby factories. Look at what they're doing. But basically, Margaret Atwood, this author of The Handmaid's Tale, said, well, she actually just reposted an article saying, why can't we say women anymore? As simple as that. And then the internet freaked out. Here it is. And apparently the article, which is behind a paywall, which is very irritating, was an opinion piece that basically said that gender-neutral language, such as pregnant person, equates the erasure of women. And even though it's reasonably well-meaning, it causes people to become tongue-tied lest they be attacked as transphobic or otherwise insensitive to the increasingly complex, I can't read, Elijah, you know this, constructs of gender.
Very damning language. You know, I do want to say this, though.
Very offensive.
I do want to say this. This is very important, is that with women, that is controversial. Because you know what? I'm not surprised that we're having this conversation. Because when it comes down to the ladies, everything doesn't make sense, okay? So when it even comes to defining who they are, it's like, all right, I would make sense why the word has now become an argument and a dispute, because it's like, well, what even is a woman? Now, obviously, when we talk about this, I think that's the craziest part, is this changing of the language. You know, like we were joking about earlier, like the Latinx people, you know, Latinx. I think it's, in any poll I've read, it's between 2 to 4% of Latin people even prefer to be called Latinx. Yeah. But yet it's just used.
Coming from LA, they hate that shit.
Yeah, they hate it. A Latinx, but yet it's used religiously, and you're sort of corrected, right? Even if you talk about the AP, talking about capitalizing black, right? Like as if it's some proper noun, and then, you know, as if it's something that we're supposed to like revere as a proper name, like you're black and then your name, as if it's some part of your identity, as if every black person walks around thinking that, yeah, being black is the most important part of who I am. This weird reversal of like, but then when it comes to women, this is where I don't understand it, is in a society that's supposed to be feminist, I'd say we're post-feminist, because we're like a post-feminist society, because we're back to everything catering to men.
Yes.
We're like men who want to be women have more rights and more representation than women who just want to be women. And you know what? Maybe they deserve it.
Well, I think it's a magical trump card, right, with the trans thing, because, you know, you as a straight, white, privileged male, you can totally... I am
black too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I identified as black for a while.
He's also non-binary.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm legally non-binary.
So pardon my assumptions, but you can totally inverse the victimhood oppression hierarchy by simply claiming to be a trans woman, and then the entire thing is inverted. You've leapfrogged black people, you've leapfrogged all minorities, you've leapfrogged homosexuals. You are now at the top because Western modern society has decided, for whatever reason, that trans people, however you interpret that, are at the very top of the victimhood hierarchy. And that is the one group that nobody, doesn't matter if you're Dave Chappelle, whatever, anyone even suggests anything about that, they get demonized. They got called transphobic, which is a word that pretty much didn't exist as recently as 10 years ago. And ultimately, it's a war on reality. Right? You can be kind and decent and treat people equally and fairly whilst still acknowledging reality. And a lot of people seem to forget this. And again, I think this is part of the pandemic of cowardice, which we have in the Western world, which is people not being willing to say what is true, to state actual facts. There's plenty of room for opinions, but there are certain things that are fact. There are certain things that actually are binary. Right. And I said, a while back that we're living in a time where politics is binary and gender is a spectrum. Right. So everything is, black and white politically. You're on the left or you're on the right. You're just this or that. But when it comes to gender, all of a sudden, despite our entire lives and all of human history, there being male and female, beyond the human species, by the way, right, across the animal kingdom, there's two, and you can't pick which one. But no one wants to say that. Just the simple thing I've said, just going on TV and saying there's two genders, or that men cannot get pregnant, or females cannot have penises. All of these things are supposedly controversial.